Hello and welcome to another training on Scuba Continuous Intelligence. In this training, I'm going to be covering what line view is. And if you haven't watched our other training videos that give an introduction or discuss event properties and actor properties, I suggest you go back and watch those videos. Also, this is a really good prerequisite training to the retention view as well. So for those of you that are interested in retention, you'll get a lot of good information from this video too. So a good way to explain what line view is or how line view works is to begin by actually showing time view. So this is a visualization that if you've watched our other videos, you should be relatively familiar with. And time view here is basically a visualization that allows us to plot the value of a measure. And in this case, we're counting unique users that meet certain criteria, and it's plotting those events or those types of values over time on the x-axis. So when you're using the time visualization, the x-axis is always time. So whatever measure or multiple measures that you're calculating or things that you're splitting by, it's always going to plot that thing on the x-axis relative to the starting and ending time that you set in the query builder over here. So the downside to this is that time is always the static measure on the x-axis. And so if you wanted to actually build another, let's say, event property or actor property, or do some form of analysis that used something else or another count as what's being plotted on the x-axis, you have the option to use the line view. So if I go ahead and take a look at this line visualization here, you notice that we're looking, when I hover over each different plot on this line, you'll see that it's identifying that we're calculating for measure 1 and that there's a value of 4 and a number of 36. So what is that actually saying? So in this case, it is counting 36 users that had 4 events, right? And so if I look at the x-axis, the value on the x-axis, it's giving me a count of event, which is this actor property that we're splitting by, and what it's plotting is the number of events. So this would be 36 users performed 1 event, 28 users performed 2 events, and so on and so forth on this x-axis here. So just jumping into the count of event actor property, so this makes a little bit more sense. What we're doing is building an actor property that is using the show method to give us a count of events since the beginning of time to now for groups of users, right? So if I look at what this output is here, we'll see that it starts bucketing around things like, let's say, in the 13,000s. Like there was 279 users that had 1,377 events. So what this is doing is taking every single user that's in your data set, and it's saying, put them in a bucket based on the number of events that they have or rows of data that they have in the entire data set. So from the beginning of time to now, look at every row for that user and make a count of events for those users and throw every user that has that same number of events into the same bucket. And so here we could see that there were 278 users that had 1,354 events. And so another way to show this is with a bar view. So if I say, give me a measure that's looking for a count of unique user actors, and give me the actors or the count of event actor property where their value matches 1,385 events, when we hover over this, we'll see there's 271 users that are in this bucket of 1,385. So going back to the actor property, if I hover over this 1,385, you'll see here this number matches. There's 271 users in this count unique values of user y-axis. So going back to line view, now what we're able to do because we're splitting by this count of event actor property, is use the values or the buckets of events that the users fall in and plot that over the x-axis. So here you'll see we're limiting by 25. So the count or the number of dots will go up to 25 and it progressively shows you that number. So 36 users that performed one event, and then 28 that performed 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., so on and so forth, out until the end, which is 25 here. So 40 users performed 25 events. So this is valuable, but it doesn't necessarily make too much sense. There's definitely another visualization that could be a little bit better, but I'm going to pull up another example that shows where line view can be extremely powerful. And in this case, we're looking at a retention query. So I'm not going to dig into exactly how this retention query is built. If you want to watch that, please watch our retention analytics or the retention video. But in short, this week since first week actor property is bucketing users into the number of users that are active week over week. So it's taking the total amount of time in the data set and breaking it into chunks of 7-day time periods. And then it's showing you what number or percentage of users are returning week over week. So in this case, we have week 0. Every user has a first week, and it shows that 100% of users have a first week, which makes sense. And then you'll see that each dot then represents 1 week after their first week, or 2 weeks after their first week, 3, 4, etc., so on, until we hit this limit, which in this case we have a maximum of 36 weeks in our data set. And you can see the respective percentage of users that are returning 8 weeks or 9 weeks in this case since their first week. And that's because we're using a fraction of all, and in the chart options we're representing this as a percent. But so the takeaway here is that with the use of line view and splitting by a numeric actor property, we are able to plot that numeric value in the split by field here across the x-axis, and then look on the y-axis at the values of the measure that we're calculating for in the query definition. And so if we were to use time view, we would not be able to achieve a visualization like this and watch how user retention rates fluctuate week over week. So if you have any other questions or are interested in learning about other features in the product, please watch the rest of our videos or reach out to help@scuba.io. Thanks.